Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Tuplex. Today we are going to start to set up our first offsite smelting station. I've been doing some research, as you can see here, since we're now making some additional science packs. I've got long inserters 2 done because I was able to finish logistics 3, which means that we can now make blue logistics components, which we'll be doing soon. And then I almost finished nuclear fuel reprocessing. I'm going to finish that up, and that'll allow us to start doing something with our spent fuel cells over at the reactor. So let me go ahead and finish that up. And the main thing that I've been doing is contemplating the layout of the rail system for the larger base, and I've decided to try a grid system this time. I've not done one before. So I set up a grid, and I think this is going to be the grid design that I'm going to be using. Now, the first thing that I had to do was design a 4-way intersection because I don't currently have any 4-way intersections in my blueprint book. I've tried to avoid them to avoid traffic problems. Now with the grid, obviously you need them, but I'm not as concerned about 4-way intersections with a grid because your traffic should be distributed over lots of different paths. When you have a grid, there'll be lots of alternative paths for trains to take if one is blocked. So I think it shouldn't be an issue. All right, so this is the design I came up with. It's intended to connect with the other rail sections that I have in my blueprint book. And essentially I just took, it spans the length of 2 power poles. To go straight across, I came out to the side so that we have more room in the middle to get all these various crossings. So that's what this square is. These are for trains going straight through. And then from each direction, you can also make a right turn, and you can also make a left turn. And there are lots of chain signals. In fact, the interior is pretty much all chain signals. So in most cases, a train won't even get into all this mess if it doesn't have a path through. Now, I haven't tested this extensively, so I'm hoping that there won't be any collisions or anything, but as far as I can tell, the signaling looks correct, and I had a couple other people check it for me too. And then I wanted to make sure that it was big enough that my standard grid size was big enough to handle a 282 train. And there are a couple different styles of train stops that we can do. So this is one where you just come off of the main rail, go up to the stop, and then back onto the main rail. This is pretty popular. I like this because it doesn't take up much space inside the grid section, so you have more room to build things. The problem with this one, or the thing I don't like about this one, is that if you have an area that needs lots of ingredients, I mean, with something like this, if you're using 242 trains, you can really only get 4 stations in, right? If you were using 141, you could probably have 2 stations along this line, and have another set of entrances and exits here in the middle. But for 282, it's a little bit limited in that regard. So this is another style of station that could be used, and this takes advantage of the 2-headed trains, where you can come in off the side, and you could have multiples of this. You could probably get space 4 or 5 or 6 of them along this section, all going in. Now this does take up a lot of your production space though, so that's a problem. And then this is the other possibility, again, taking advantage of 2-headed trains, merging onto a single track, and then coming off. And then the other style which I haven't demonstrated here yet, would be to have a 2-lane T intersection and then have that come off into multiple single-lane spurs like this. I used that type of configuration a lot in my Angel Bob's campaign. So for the sake of efficiency, or for standardization, let's say, I think I'm gonna default to this type of a design, and just because it doesn't take up much space, except in those cases where I need to have a lot of train stations. For example, a depot. You know, if I set up another train depot, I'll just build into the center of the grid, since it's for the depot and not for production. But normally I'll just do something like this. Okay, so this is going to be the grid. The other thing that I've done is I removed all the lights from the rail system. I used to have 4 lights around each power pole. I took them all out, and the reason I did that is that I learned that if you have lights on the rail, the game will need to continually update the chunk, which I think is 7x7. Well, no, we can see what a chunk is. If you hit F4 and show grid. Okay, I think this is a chunk, which is, I think, 32 by 32 tiles. Okay, so the game updates things like pollution and that sort of thing by chunks. So if you have anything going on in a particular chunk, then the game's going to update it every update cycle, however often that is. If you have a chunk that has train tracks going through it but no trains, then it won't need to update it. But if you have lights, then it needs to update it. So to make a long story short, if you have a big base with lots of trains and you have lights everywhere, it's going to cause the game to slow down as your base gets bigger, more than it will if you don't have the lights. So that's why I got rid of the lights. Okay, we're doing just fine on the nuclear power. Right. Okay, so before we get smelting, I want to start making blue logistics components. All right, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to empty all those into there, and then I'm going to reset this to 4 spaces. Okay, and then I'm going to pick that up, and then I'm also going to pick this up because I need to put some blue stuff here as well. So that means that I will need to, at some point, I'll need to have another way to make loaders. Okay, I've got too much stuff here. What can I get rid of? Let's get rid of that. I don't need the rail. And I certainly don't need all of that. Okay, I'm going to leave that provider chest there. And what's this? Oh, okay, that was for those inserters too. Okay. All right, so now we'll go back to the original purpose of these slots, which is to make blue logistics components. And I want to start making them now. No, that's for belts. So that as we start to build, I can start to use blue belts for my builds, since that's what we're going to want to have long term. I'm not sure where I want the lubricant to come in yet, but we'll figure that out shortly. All right, so I know we're going to need the original components. This one, oh, blue. Thanks. Okay, and that takes gears. And then what I'm going to do is the one that makes belts, I'm going to put the grabbers for the gears upstream of the gear grabbers for these other two pieces of equipment because I want to make sure that they get priority. Okay, so that one's all set, that one's all set, and that one's all set. Okay, so I'll put those there. And then I'll put my outputs. Let me set this up. This way I can share a chest. So I'll set this up to stack inserters. We'll limit to 100. Then I can take the limit off the chest. And then we can set this to express splitters. Also less than 100. Okay, and then that's going to be undergrounds, and that's going to be belts, and I'm going to make the belts 400. Okay. So I just need lubricant here, and then we'll be all set. All right, so that's where lubricant has to go. I think I can bring the pipe in over here. Make some extra room. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit tricky. Okay, so we can do that. Okay, well, I guess I'm not going to be able to do that the way that I want in this particular case. That's okay. At least that one will be pulling in first. Okay, so those are all hooked up. And then we've already got this out on the bus. So I just need to connect to it. And this is where our, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where the lubricant consumption is going to really start to get crazy. Hopefully I won't run out. Okay. So we're making lots of blue stuff. It's going to take a while before I have enough to build out the whole area that I'm attempting to build. But that's okay. All right, so what I'd like to do now is to go up to our grid, and we'll make this first grid iron plate production. I tried to bring my train back, but it is stuck up there because of a signaling problem. So I'm going to take the plane, the corporate jet here, which honestly for short trips, this is, I think, faster than the train because it accelerates pretty quickly. The top speed isn't as high, but it's very convenient. Okay. Yeah, see, the problem here is that I need to have some signals on that. Okay. Oh yeah, actually you can go. I wanted you to go to this station called Alex Clay, which is up there. All right, so let's call this smelting iron 1. Okay, and I'm going to call it 1 because I'm guessing I might need to have more than 1 at some point, depending on how much stuff we build in it. All right, where'd my train go? Here it comes. It had to make a U-turn. Now, one disadvantage, I would say, of having these type of train stops that just come off the inside rail is that you can only enter the grid from one direction, right? So you can't come up this way and make a left turn. You would have to go somewhere, turn around. Now, again, once we get lots and lots of grids set up, I don't think it's a big deal for a train to have to go around the block, and they can make left turns at these intersections. They just will always have to make a right turn into the inside of the grid. Okay, I think I'm going to need this plane still. So as you can see, this is a pretty big grid size. It's going to give us lots of space. And again, I wanted to make sure that we had the ability to handle the largest trains. Is that going to go the right way? I guess it depends which way you're facing. Okay. I'll leave that there, and I'm going to remove this. That'll be easy enough to duplicate in the future if I decide to use that. Okay. So I've already got a train here. I put this here so that we would have a reference. Let's see. 1, 2, yeah. All right, so now we can see where all the cars are going to go. Now here I'm going to need to put in the bulk rail unloaders, because this is where, I think this is where I'll bring in the iron ore. So actually let's call this smelting iron 1, iron ore, or we'll just call it ore. Okay, and that needs to be an LTN stop. And it's funny because I put this whole grid system together, and I put this stop in, and it just worked out to be exactly long enough to take a 282 train. So it's a good thing that I put it together the way that I did. It worked out pretty well. Okay, let's see. Yeah. All right, so we can throw in our lights like we always do. Now this train, I think I don't really need this train here anymore. I'm just going to send it to the depot. Depot 282 in activity, and then it'll be there when it's needed. All right, so that'll give us 3 282 trains available now. Okay, now I need to go back and get the bulk unloaders. And remember, I'm only using the bulk unloaders for ores, so I won't use it for the plates that come out the other side. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to need 8 of those. So I'll grab 10 and put 2 back. All right, and then what I did is in Hellmod, I calculated how many furnaces we would need to fill a blue belt, which is 40 per second, assuming that we have tier 3 modules and beacons on both sides of it. And the reason I did that is because I'm gonna lay this out so that when we have beacons, we'll be able to drop them in and put the modules in when those are available. But until then, we can just use it without the beacons or modules, and there'll be some extra space there, but that's okay. All right, so I think if we just, let's see. Okay, that fits there. All right, so this one we need to remove 3. Yeah, this is... It's weird. It's I really like this mod, but it's hard to, for me anyway, it's hard to place the rails. Okay, I've got too much junk here. Why do I have so much junk with me? Okay, iron chest, wood chest, get rid of that, get rid of that. Okay. That way I can pick this up. Alright, and I should be able to just, I think if I copy them in pairs, they'll repeat down the line. Yep. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay. And then, of course, we need to connect all this to inventory. And go into the light. Oh yeah, you know what? I did that the hard way. I can just connect them like this. There, that's a little bit easier. Let's get some more research going. Mining productivity is always good. Express mini loaders. I think we should have those. I can't do any of that stuff yet. You know what? I'm just going to... I'll just turn on auto research. And I set this up so that military science packs are not selected, so it won't do any research that requires military. Because I don't. Otherwise, it'll just start doing all those like speed upgrades and damage upgrades that I don't need. Okay. So I'm gonna make 5, 6, 7, 8 of the reds, so that we can unload with red belts. And actually, I'm not sure how many belts I want to get out of here. What does this hold? Well, we can see what they hold if I come down here. Yeah, this holds, I think, 64,000 with 4, which is 16,000 each. Stacks of 50. 16, that means there's what, 32 slots, but that's a loader, not an unloader. All right. All right, I think I'm going to have to count the slots. These should be 10 across. Yeah, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 30. Yeah, there's 32 slots. Okay. So 32 slots at 50 each. $1,600. That doesn't sound right. 32 slots. Oh, 320 slots at 50 each. Okay, so each one of these will hold 16,000 ore. Well, actually, I'm trying to figure out how many belts I want to come out of here, but actually, we're really only going to be delivering one train at a time, right? So let's consider that. So one train, those have, cargo wagons have 20 slots, I believe. No, 40 slots. Okay, so 40 slots times 50 is 2,000. All right, so one train will hold 16,000 ore. And if I wanted that to last at least a minute, let's say, I divide that by 60 seconds. That's 266 ore per second coming out of there. And if I divided that by 40 a second for blue belts, that's 6 belts. Okay. So we probably want to have a dedicated belt for each of these. To feed the smelters. Okay. But first let's set up our first smelting line. So if we come all the way over here to the edge, or why don't we do the first one in the middle? I like that idea better. Okay, so we can get 22 furnaces on a blue belt. And because I want beacons on both sides, that means I'm going to do 22 all in one line. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is the center right here. I'll come up a ways so I have room for balancers and so forth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. All right, so that's 22 furnaces, and that'll give us plenty of room to rebalance the belts and put another station over there. Okay, so let's, I'm going to set these up with red belts for now, and later on they can be upgraded. All right, so let's use our bots for this. All right, we're going to have, whoops, fast inserters in, fast inserters out. We can throw in a light, right? And then over here, offset from that, we'll have beacons there, and then we'll have beacons there. And then the next smelting line will be over there. Okay, so when we set up the other lines, we're going to be leaving a space. Okay, I can remove that. Okay. Power. I'm not going to have room for substations in this layout, so I'm going to power both sides with regular power poles. So let's include that in our blueprint. Okay, and again, I'll just trim the ends. Actually, this one will continue to go out. Okay, so that's 2. There's 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. Okay, so that's one smelting line. I wonder how much output that would give us. Smelters have no recipes. Okay. Well, actually, we can see if we remove the modules and change it to 22 machines, that will give us 12.6 plates per second. Okay, which is almost a yellow belt. So we're going to need a lot of these before we can match the smelting that we have going on in the main base. Okay. So let's make at least 4 of these to begin with. And again, we need to leave 3 spaces in between. So I'll just use that as a guide. All right, so that's 2, 3, and we'll do the 4th one over here. 4. And then I suppose we would just expand this to have 8. That way we have 8 belts coming in and 8 belts going out. And actually on the input, well, like I said, it's really only going to be 6 point something belts on the input. We saw that in the calculation. And the reason for that is that we're going to be getting a 40% productivity bonus on the production of the plates once we have all the productivity modules in there. So that means it's no longer going to be a 1-to-1 ratio of plates to ore to plates. Well, that's no good. I'm going to have to make some copper wire so I can eliminate this ugliness here. No. There we go. Goes like that. There we go. You go like that. Okay. That, no. That, no. Yes. There we go. Oh, look at this. These guys are just messing with me. Okay, now it looks beautiful. Okay, well, we're out of time. So what I'm going to do between now and the next episode is I'm going to finish building this. I'll give it some power. I will finish connecting up the ore station, or I'll connect the ore to this. I'll send all this into an 8-to-8 balancer. Actually, we can put that down here right now. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so the middle's right about here. All right, so we'll have an 8-to-8 balancer. Everything will go into that, and then for now, I'll just take 4 belts out of that to feed these. And then I'll set up a station on the other side. And I will also set up a mining outpost for iron, and I'll probably put that right here. So I'll build another grid over here and put some iron mining there, and that way it'll be a short trip from this over to there. Okay. The next grid might overlap that copper patch, but that's okay. We can deal with it. All right, so I'll do all that so that by the next episode we have a fully functional iron smelting station. I don't think you need to see the work that's going to go into finishing this. You've seen me set up mining outposts and stuff already. So I'll do this off camera, and then in the next episode we can get to building another grid for copper smelting. And then once we have iron and copper, we can start to make green circuits. We can start to make science packs and do all sorts of other interesting stuff. So thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.